Hi folks, I'm Bob Stannard and welcome to another version of Q&A Live. Wait a minute, that's the wrong show. Maybe this is Ski for Heat? Not that either. No, I've been asked to have the honor and privilege of doing an interview with Stephen Barry, who is a state rep from Manchester, Sunderland, Sandgate, and Arlington, and he is running for re-election. And Steve, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
So happy that you
Good
came
to
off
see
the
you.
boat to show up today.
Well, I was fishing earlier, and
Right.
of course I caught the fish. So we're talking about your role as our state representative from Manchester, Sunderland, Sandgate, and Arlington. And as you are one of two incumbents running for this seat, I guess the first question I would ask you is, why are you running again?
Well, I first have to say that I find it's a great honor and a privilege to be able to represent people in our area. I feel so blessed that I can actually take some of the tools that I used over the years with helping people and taking the knowledge and the wisdom that I have and applying it in ways that will be beneficial in creating policy. And so the reason why I am seeking re-election is because I do a good job of that. I understand people. I understand what they go through in life. I know how hard it is sometimes. Those people have come into my life and asked me for help. And so when I go up there, I have them in mind, and I can see their faces, and I can hear their voices. And so when I go there, I listen, and I learn how to be a good legislator. And I've done that for 2 years, and now I'm ready to step forward and really lead.
How do you think you did in your last 2 years?
I think that I am highly respected in the State House by both sides of the aisle because I'm a good leader, and they know it. So when I speak, and I don't speak often, but when I speak, people pay attention. And I feel very fortunate that that's the way it is, but that's because I take people seriously and I want to learn what they're having to say. I want to understand all of the issues of the State House to the best of my ability. I'm willing to work very diligently. That means not just show up and occupy a seat, but engage in my committee, also engage after working hours so that I learn everything I can possibly learn about what's going on in the other committees so that I can make very good informed decisions for the state of Vermont and all Vermonters.
That's actually the description of the job. Well done. That's what you're supposed to do.
That's right.
So you are one of two incumbents. There's 2 available seats and there's 3 people running, if I'm not mistaken. Brian Keefe is running as a Republican. Cynthia Browning, who's the other incumbent, is running as a Democrat, although it's no secret that she votes with the Republicans most of the time, and I believe she's sued the governor, right?
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. So one of the most oft-asked questions of people running for office is, what have you done for me lately? And so what are you going to do for me now? One of the things I know that you're working on, because I've read about it in the papers, is this campaign for nonviolence. Could you help me understand a little more about your work there?
Well, John Deere is a peace activist and author who has considered my mentor, Henry Nouwen, who is a spiritual writer and deeply influenced me when I was at Yale. He's also been an important person in the life of John Deere, who is well known internationally. Desmond Tutu asked him to join in the peace movement. He's read and knows John and nominated John for the Nobel Peace Prize. So I'm fortunate to have John as a friend come here and speak in Manchester. The Rutland Herald and other news outlets have said that this is really a very interesting thing.
When's he going to be here?
He's coming in the end of September, so by the time people see this show, probably it's already happened.
Oh, okay.
But it's a campaign nonviolence is really something that addresses our problems right now, because we are tending to hear too much negative, too much nasty language, there's too much polarization, a lot of unhappy people filled with anxiety. And so we have to find ways to create a culture of nonviolence, and John is here to speak, to share some of his insights in Manchester, and comes after a week of campaign nonviolence throughout the United States. So it's great to have him here.
Is this more of a national focus?
Yes, it's national.
It's
focus,
a
yeah.
national focus.
But also you bring it down to the local. I mean, there are things that we can do in our communities that are more sensitive to the needs of people. And you know, we have so much rhetoric right now about, you know, it's rather violent. And we see stuff going on across our country, you know, with police and with other. We want to find ways to create solutions and not make more problems.
And that would certainly parlay onto all kinds of other issues that surround us here in the state of Vermont.
Of course they do, yeah.
If we can perhaps come together in a less violent and more cordial way, then resolving other issues, I won't say would be easy, but might be made easier just by starting off with that sort of a premise. I could see that.
Yeah. Well, it's really important that we start thinking about how our actions can be harmful and hurtful, and knowing that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And so there are issues that have to do with mental health and whole health, and how to get people who are angry and hurt, how they can be helped. I mean, that's part of what goes on behind the scenes with legislation too. You have to be able to think about
the winners
stuff
and
like
losers,
that.
and how do you create
how do
winners?
How do you make everyone feel like this is a good place, they're in a good place, that their family will be treated well, that they can pay their bills, have a decent life? I mean, those are the basic issues that I deal with in human services, but they're human issues, and the human face needs to be in government, and that's what I help to do. I help to make sure that happens, and I love doing that.
Yeah, well, you've been doing it for your whole life.
Yeah, and I'm good at it.
You are good at it, and it comes easy. It's what you do.
Yeah, that's right.
So you know, building coalitions and building bridges is not something that you're unaccustomed to.
I like the fact that even if a person of another party disagrees with me, that they respect my voice, that they know they can trust me, that they know that I'm going to be thoughtful and mindful about what I do, that I'm not following a party line, that I'm not just in lockstep, but that I'm really trying to do my best to listen to all sides and to make a decision that's going to be, or decisions that really impact and influence in a positive way our citizens. So I'm happy that they respect me, that people in my party respect me, the Democrats respect me, the Republicans, and we don't always agree all the time, but that's okay. We don't have to. Let's just try to work together and get good legislation done. Yeah.
That's a good way to be.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what bills you introduced last session? Did you?
Well,
did you have an opportunity?
Yeah, I was really focused last time on the Veterans Home, and I feel very.
What's up with the Veterans Home?
Well, there had been talk that it would be closed because it costs $5 million a year, and the governor, that's what I heard, but others, you know, buzz around the House was, let's not continue the Veterans Home, it's too costly. And I really reject that. And so I went down with actually a Republican to the Vets Home, Carolyn Brannigan, who sits right across the aisle from me. And so we went down and we talked with the administrators and the executives there, and Colonel Faxon and others. And I really wanted to present a bill to the Appropriations Committee with my name on it that said, hey, you know, this is too valuable for our state. We need to treat our veterans with dignity. Now, I'm a peace activist.
Well, I was just going to suggest you're not a big war guy.
No, and if you look at the war budgets, that's where we have a huge, $4 $4-5 trillion went into the Iraq War. So I was against that from the very beginning. But the reality is that if people are going to fight for America, and they do that because they believe in our country and they believe in our leaders, then they should not be treated shoddily when they come home. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure that that Veterans Home does not shut down.
So you introduced a legislation that went to the Appropriations Committee.
I did.
And they were poised to perhaps cut that funding?
They
were talking about it?
In fact, they accepted. We did not pass that bill, but because I pushed, and it's not just me, I had a lot of support on both sides of the aisle, of course.
Yeah. Sure.
And people saying, yeah, I support you, Steve, but I drew it up with Carolyn, and we presented it, and yeah, we were funded. And
you were successful.
Oh yeah, sure.
So the Vets Home didn't close; they're funded, and they're
that's
moving
right.
forward.
And we're moving forward, and it's and we're going to keep doing that because it's too important. We have a lot of veterans in our state, and they need to know that we got their back.
Now, that dialogue actually would lead into, for me, anyways. I'm running the show. I might as well move on. Issues that were before you last year and will probably be before you again this year. I served on the House Appropriations Committee for 4 out of 6 years when I was in the House from 84 to 88.
That's the toughest committee, I think.
It's the hardest committee. Putting together a budget annually is something that we have to do. We have to, by our own laws, have a balanced budget. We cannot have a budget that runs a deficit. We can't do that.
That's right.
And so we are forced to come to agreement. And we've seen appropriation bills come out 6-5. It's a very hard process. What I will say is that when the budget comes to the floor, people vote yes or no. And in my experience has always been that people vote no against the budget because they know it's going to pass, and it allows them the opportunity to grandstand.
Well, you know what? This bill that came out went through a really wonderful process. Everyone in all the committees were given an opportunity to, first of all, come to appropriations and give them their top priorities. Every committee. So we were engaged. That was a fantastic thing that the appropriations did. Mitzi Johnson did a superlative job, and so what we were able to do then is to have that committee look at all of the things that we felt are the top priorities for the state of Vermont from our committees, and then appropriations dealt with that. And what they did, they came out 11-0. Everyone favored this budget when it came out of appropriations.
That's
so
rare. That's very rare.
You have conservatives, you have moderates, you have liberals, and they all
throw some progressives in there.
And progressives, of course.
Sure.
And everyone agreed that this was something that they could live with. And we all have our priorities, but this is a really good process. And most of what happened this year, and that was not like it was last year, but most of what happened this year came out of committees with high votes, 8-3, 9-1, 1, that type of thing. It was really remarkable.
When you work together and when you're not trying to, put a pressure game out there and make it partisan, then that's how you get it done.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now, in this past budget, then, was the funding for the Vets Home.
Yes.
Which there's always things in a budget that you might like, and there's always things in a budget that you don't like.
Right.
And the question is, do you grandstand vote and say, no, I'm throwing my hands up, I'm not supporting this on principle, in hopes I lose. And so I'm guessing that funding was in there, and that kept the Vets Home going.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. And weatherization and all of these things that have to do with human beings. As well as your roads, as well as your, keeps the state going. I mean, you vote your budget in order to provide for your citizens. They pay taxes, and they need to have, response from us. We need to make sure that we're doing our best to give them what they need.
And I think, unfortunately, your district mate didn't agree with you on that vote and voted against the budget. Yeah, I think she did. So let's move on, because budgets are budgets. Oh, heavens, they're so dull. Let's talk about something that's not quite as dull, and the two go hand in hand, which is education and property tax. Everybody's talking about it. We've had my lobbying career began with a bill called Act 60, and then moved on into where we are today at Act 46, I believe it's called, our new education funding bill.
Yeah.
And I should mention to the viewers that every time we talk about trying to reform education and move forward, we have to always remember that we are operating under the shroud of a Supreme Court decision, which has created a real shift in the funding mechanism for education.
Yeah.
Having said that, Act 46 is the new paradigm of today. We're living in that, and let's not go into the weeds on Act 46. That's not why we're here today. But maybe you can talk a little bit about it and how going forward maybe we can reduce the pressure on the property tax.
Well, it's a really difficult issue. When I went door to door the last campaign, people were concerned about property taxes, and Act 46 seeks to put a cap on that. And I think that the consolidation, there's conversations right now going on in Manchester and Dorset and the mountain towns, Peru and Landgrove and Londonderry, to consolidate. And if that does, there will be more efficiencies. And so there are real positive things about Act 46 as people are forced to take a look at how they spend their money, how much money there is to spend. Can we do a better job of effectively providing great education for our children in public school on the one hand, but also not spend so much money if we can take our resources and put them together. And so I think that
economies of scale, I think.
Economies of scale is
Yeah.
absolutely what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that they're effective, there are real efficiencies that can be done. I think they're doing that. I know that John Wilson is working hard at that. I know the board members. We're also dealing, however, because we're sort of a strange area because we have school choice too. And school choice is wonderful. It's a great opportunity for people to choose a school they want to be in, but we have to make sure that the children who are in the public schools are not shortchanged, and let's try to make sure that that if there's consolidation that can take place, then maybe they get more opportunities to have the extras that they need that some of the private schools have. So it's people want to have their cake and eat it too. You can't do that, but you do the best that you can. You have to be the smartest that you can be about making these decisions. If you consolidate these mountain schools with Dorset and Manchester, if you do that, Sunderland also, what you're doing is you're taking 7 budgets and you're making it 1. 7 transportation buses and all that stuff, you're making it one group, all of that, and that gives you efficiency and it brings it to scale. I think it's a good idea to pursue.
Yeah.
So they're pursuing that right now.
It is just the toughest one. It's a water balloon. Every time you try to fix something over here, it's something over there breaks.
I know it's very difficult. There's another issue in this, and that is that in the schools, a lot of what's going on in our public schools, the teachers are having to deal with poverty. More and more children in poverty. And so one of my goals in the next session is to, and I know that a lot of people love the legalized marijuana issue. Many don't too. But I think that priority-wise, I'm really along the mindset that we need to focus on poverty and try to put more money into prevention, providing for parents so that they're their children can have after-school programs or pre-K, and helping parents and that stuff, so that you don't have as many problems down the line. If you're spending $340 million, which we are, in remediating problems for drug addiction, and you spend $3 million is what we spend in prevention, that scale is really needs to change. You need to put
the old
more
adage,
money.
an ounce of prevention, right?
It's worth a pound of cure. A stitch in time saves
Same idea.
nine.
Same
And
idea.
and I'm really interested in that, and I'm really interested in it because we don't want to be a welfare state, and there are a lot of people that have great needs, but I would like to see people who are working rewarded more for the work that they do, and I would like to see that figure on par with people who get benefits. There are some people who get benefits that probably can work. I think that everyone who can't work, that are vulnerable, they need to be supported and helped. So it's elderly, or it's a vet, or it's someone with a disability. But what about the people who can work and don't want to work and know how to game the system? I think that we have to be more clear about that. We have to put some things in place so that doesn't happen as frequently, and reward people who want to work, who are seeking to work, who desire to work, and incentivize people to continue to do that, and so that their quality of life goes up.
And so do we create more jobs to help? I mean, this is all part of the program, and you can help people out of poverty, but they've got to go somewhere. They have to go to a decent paying job.
We're trying to do that in a number of ways, and I think that there is success on a certain level with that, with creating more jobs. We have this internship program, Mac Molding, initiated, that's been highly successful, with teaching them how to the interns, and then they get a degree, and then they come back, and they have just hired 7 of the interns that went through their program. They work full-time at Mac now.
That's very cool.
It is cool. So the scales are small, but what we need to do is to teach digital coding and make it mandatory in our schools, because that's going to be the next workforce. I don't hear anyone else talking about this. Matt Dunn did, but if we can bring mandatory digital coding into the schools, and I talked to the principals at MEMS about this, they like the idea very much. I have to talk with the head of school, Mark Tashian, about that. They already have a marker program, but I have to speak to him about it. But if we can somehow find a way to start training our Vermont youth so that they don't leave the state and then not want to come back because there's no jobs, because there's no broadband, there's no internet access, there's no, that is a driver of the economy, a huge driver. We have to focus on that for jobs. And we have to also focus on teaching people who are not going to go to college that they can get really great jobs that would have been manufacturing jobs, industry jobs in the last, the last generation, and now is going to be in digital coding in this generation. And there have been pilot projects. There's one in Hart, right outside of Windsor, and White River Junction, I think it's Hartford or Hart. Anyway, so a group of youth put together a program, and Google found out about it. Matt Dunn, who worked for Google, didn't even know this happened. And then they flew the whole class out because what they had created was so excellent through digital coding. And they said, we would like to replicate this. So they used the Vermont kids.
How great is that?
Yeah, and I've worked with restorative justice in Vermont, and I know that some of the restorative justice people are working with youth because they like playing video games. So there's already a proclivity for them to learn.
Morph them into something slightly more
productive.
productive.
So they're going to be able to get jobs. If the state were to focus on creating those types of jobs, and the schools would say yes, and we could show that this is going to be beneficial for the state, then you're solving a lot of problems, helping people out of poverty, giving families hope, giving kids an opportunity to say, I've got some real value here, rather than I don't know what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
See, that's what I love. I love solving those problems. I also like being able to do it efficiently and effectively, and not costing the state a heck of a lot of money by doing. This is something that the teachers are already there, the students are already there.
We just got to put it together.
Yeah, I got to put it together. Yeah.
Much to both of our amazement, this time has just fleeted by.